He never understood why his girlfriend's dog hated and barked at him every time he tried to kiss his girlfriend, until their wedding night, when he opened the door and walked in on them doing something unimaginable. It was Kendra's wedding night, the night she had dreamed about since she was a little girl. A shiny black car stopped in front of a beautiful hotel by the beach. The soft evening breeze carried the smell of salt and flowers as Kendra stepped out, looking stunning in her long cream gown. Beside her was Jack, her strong, dark bulldog. He walked proudly, his tail stiff, his eyes alert like a soldier protecting his queen. Kendra smiled, her heart full of excitement. Tomorrow, she would finally marry Oscar, the love of her life. Just then, the hotel doors slid open, and Oscar came out with a big smile on his face. "There she is," he said cheerfully, walking fast to hug her. He kissed her softly on the cheek, but before Kendra could smile back, Jack growled loudly. "Woof! Woof!" In a flash, Jack jumped forward and grabbed Oscar's trouser with his teeth. The sound of tearing cloth filled the air. "Jack! Stop it!" Kendra screamed, pulling his leash with all her strength. Oscar jerked his leg away, stepping back quickly with shock written all over his face. His smile disappeared, replaced by anger and fear. "Why do you always bring this dog everywhere?" he shouted. "He nearly bit me." "I'm sorry, baby," Kendra said, her voice soft and calm. "I just don't want him to feel lonely." Oscar frowned. "But why does he always bark whenever I touch you or try to kiss you? It's like he hates me." Kendra laughed nervously. "Oh, come on. He's just a dog. He's only being protective." Oscar shook his head. "No, Kendra. He doesn't behave like this with anyone else. It's me he hates. And honestly, he scares me." Kendra gently held his hand. "Please, don't say that. He'll get used to you. Let's not talk about Jack tonight. Let's talk about us. It's our special night before the big day." Oscar didn't reply. He just nodded quietly as a hotel staff took Jack's leash and followed them inside. In the elevator, the silence was heavy. Kendra tried to lighten the mood, talking about the wedding flowers, the guests, and her white gown. But Oscar's eyes kept drifting back to Jack, who was standing quietly behind them, still staring at him through the mirror. Finally, Oscar spoke again. "Kendra, after we get married, that dog can't stay with us. I mean it. He doesn't like me. He's different." Kendra looked shocked. "Oscar, don't say that. He'll come around. He just needs more time." Oscar sighed. "We've been together for months, and it's only getting worse." "Please," Kendra said gently, holding his arm. "Let's just enjoy tonight. No worries, no arguments." The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. Kendra gasped as they entered the room. The hotel suite was breathtaking. Roses scattered on the floor, balloons floating near the ceiling, candles glowing softly. On the wall, a golden sign read, "Your last night before you say I do." Kendra's eyes widened. "Oh my God, Oscar. This is amazing," she said, hugging him tightly. Oscar smiled faintly, but his gaze shifted again, to Jack. The bulldog was now sitting quietly in a corner, staring straight at him, eyes cold, unblinking. Kendra didn't notice. She was too happy, too lost in the magic of the night to see the tension building between her future husband and her loyal dog. She wrapped her arms around Oscar and whispered, "I love you, babe." "I love you too," Oscar said softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. "You're everything to me." For a moment, everything felt perfect, warm, still, peaceful. But then, Oscar's phone rang. The moment broke. He checked the screen and smiled. "It's the groomsmen. They just arrived. I'll go meet them downstairs." Kendra nodded. "Go on, baby. Tell them I said hi." Oscar gave her one more kiss and walked out, leaving Kendra alone with Jack. The bulldog followed him with his eyes until the door closed, then turned toward Kendra, ears up, alert. Kendra smiled at her reflection in the mirror, humming softly as she fixed her hair. She had no idea that before the night ended, something would happen. Something that would change her life forever. Downstairs, Oscar walked into the hotel lobby where his groomsmen were waiting, laughter filling the air. His best friend, Collins, waved excitedly the moment he saw him. "My guy. Tomorrow is the big day, oh," he shouted. Oscar laughed and hugged him. "Finally, bro. After all the stress, I can't wait to call her my wife." The men had come prepared, balloons, gifts, even a man holding a trumpet. Another held a large heart-shaped cake. The lobby glowed with joy and excitement. "This will make her smile," Oscar said proudly, lifting a beautiful bouquet of fresh red roses. "She deserves it." "Let's go surprise her," Collins said. "Our bride must feel love tonight." The group followed Oscar down the quiet hallway to Kendra's suite. They stopped a few feet from the door. Oscar turned, whispering with excitement, "Here's the plan. I'll knock first. When she opens the door, I'll hand her the flowers. Then the trumpet man plays, and you guys follow with the gifts. Easy, right?" "Got it," Collins said, grinning. "She'll melt when she sees this." Oscar took a deep breath and raised his hand to knock. But just before his knuckles touched the door, he froze. He heard laughter. Kendra's laughter. It came from inside the room, light, playful, and familiar. His hand hung mid-air as her voice flowed through the door. "Can you believe Oscar said he doesn't want Jack around after the wedding?" she laughed. "He thinks Jack is too aggressive." Oscar frowned slightly. He listened, confused. "He doesn't even realize Jack is just jealous," Kendra continued, laughing even harder. "That dog thinks I'm his baby. He doesn't want to share me with anyone." Oscar's lips parted slightly. Her dog? Jealous? He tried to smile, but something felt off. Then came the words that shattered everything. "You know," Kendra said, her voice softer but clearer, "Oscar is always busy with work. He can't even satisfy me like Jack does." Oscar froze. He blinked, as if his ears had deceived him. What did she just say?" he whispered under his breath. The bouquet in his hand began to tremble. His chest tightened painfully. Inside the room, Kendra's laughter continued, sweet, cruel, heartless. "He's too weak, too boring," she said coldly. "If not for his money, I would have left long ago. I'll marry him, divorce him, and take half of everything. That's the plan." Oscar's world stopped. The corridor felt like it was spinning around him. His legs went weak. His hands turned clammy. "And when I'm done," Kendra added with a sigh that sounded almost romantic, "I'll go straight to Toby. He's the only man I've ever truly loved." The flowers slipped from Oscar's hand and fell to the floor, petals scattering across the hallway. Collins and the men turned sharply. The trumpet player froze mid-breath. Everyone went silent. "Oscar." Collins called softly. "What happened?" Oscar didn't move. He stood there like a statue, eyes glassy, face pale, heart shattered. Collins took a few steps closer. "Oscar," he called again. "What's going on?" That's when they saw it. Tears. Hot, heavy tears rolling down Oscar's cheeks. "Bro, talk to me," Collins said, dropping the gift box in his hand. "What's wrong?" Oscar didn't answer. He didn't blink. He just turned around quietly and began to walk away, slowly, painfully, leaving the crushed roses behind. "Oscar!" Collins shouted, running after him, but Oscar kept walking, head down, silent, his world falling apart with each step. That night, Oscar didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He sat on the edge of his hotel bed, eyes swollen from crying, his heart bleeding inside his chest. Every time he closed his eyes, her words came back like poison. "Oscar can't satisfy me like Jack does. I'll marry him, then divorce and take half." Toby is the one I truly love." He covered his face with both hands and wept until his whole body shook. How could she do this? How could someone plan something so wicked and still smile like an angel? But beyond the pain came shame. The wedding was only hours away. His family had flown in. The money he spent, millions of naira gone. The venue, the guests, the expectations. How could he cancel now? How could he face everyone and say, "She's not who I thought she was"? Oscar dropped his head into his palms again and cried harder. Outside his room, Collins and the others knocked repeatedly. "Oscar, open the door." Collins begged. "Please, talk to us. What happened?" But Oscar didn't move. He sat there in silence, surrounded by the sound of his own heartbreak. And in that lonely hotel room, as night slowly turned to dawn, he made a silent promise to himself. A promise that would change everything. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more touching and emotional stories like this one. Morning came. The sun was shining. Birds were singing. The waves by the beach danced softly under the golden light. But for Oscar, the world was still dark. He sat on the edge of his bed, silent, staring into nothing. The same man who used to smile with his whole heart now looked like an empty shell. Still, to everyone's surprise, he got up quietly. He showered. He shaved. He dressed in his fine cream-colored suit, the one he had chosen with Kendra weeks ago. He looked every bit like a groom, handsome, neat, and calm. But he didn't smile. Not even once. The groomsmen followed him around the hotel, watching him closely. "Are you sure you're okay?" Collins asked for the 10th time. Oscar gave the same answer he had been giving all morning. "I'm fine." But deep down, he was not fine. His heart was bleeding, his soul crushed. They arrived at the grand wedding hall. It was like a palace, gold chairs, crystal chandeliers, soft music floating through the air. Guests were seated, cameras flashing, laughter everywhere. Everything looked perfect. Except the groom. Oscar walked in cold and quiet. He didn't wave. He didn't greet. He just went straight to his seat in front of the altar and sat down, staring blankly ahead. People whispered, "What's wrong with him? Is he nervous? Why does he look so sad?" Minutes later, the bride arrived. The hall came alive. Everyone stood. Phones clicked. Kendra stepped in, glowing like a star. Her gown sparkled under the lights. Her veil floated behind her like mist. "She looks like a queen," someone whispered. Kendra smiled proudly as she walked down the aisle. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, but when she reached Oscar and tried to whisper something sweet, he didn't even turn his head. He sat still, face calm, eyes distant, too calm. The smile slowly vanished from Kendra's lips. Something felt off. The officiator cleared his throat and began. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to..." "Wait," Oscar said suddenly, raising his hand. The whole hall went silent. He stood up slowly and reached for the microphone. His voice was calm but heavy. "Before we continue, I have a little surprise for my wife-to-be." The crowd cheered. Everyone clapped. Kendra's smile returned instantly. She loved surprises. Maybe it was another song, or gift, or romantic video. But behind her, Collins and the other groomsmen exchanged worried glances. Something didn't feel right. Oscar stood tall, his face unreadable. He turned slightly toward the media team standing near the stage and gave them a small signal. They hesitated, confused, but one of them nodded and pressed play. The hall went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. Even the children stopped moving. Everyone leaned forward, expecting to hear music or a sweet message from the groom. But what came next broke the room in half. "Oscar is always busy with work," Kendra's voice said from the speakers. "And besides, he can't satisfy me like Jack does." A wave of gasps filled the hall. Then came her laughter. Light, shameless, cruel. He's too weak. Honestly, I'd never have stayed if he wasn't rich. I'll marry him, then divorce him, and take half of everything he owns. After that, I'll be with Toby, the real love of my life. The crowd exploded in shock. Women covered their mouths. Men stared in disbelief. Phones dropped to the floor. Some people even turned away, unable to watch. Is that really Kendra's voice? Someone whispered. Oh my God, another said, trembling. Kendra stood frozen. Her face went pale. Her bouquet slipped from her hands. Her legs trembled as the words replayed over and over. Every eye in the room was on her. She wanted the ground to open and swallow her alive. Oscar didn't look at her. He just stood there, staring ahead, trying to stay strong while his heart bled inside. He reached slowly into his pocket, pulled out his dark sunglasses, and wore them, not to look stylish, but to hide the tears that were now burning his eyes. Kendra took a step back, gasping for breath. People were whispering. Some were recording. The hall that once echoed with love now trembled with shame and disbelief. And then, right before everyone's eyes, Kendra fainted. Her body dropped to the floor with a heavy thud. Oscar didn't move. He didn't touch her. He simply adjusted his glasses, took a deep breath, and walked out of the hall with his head held high. Behind him, chaos broke loose. Guests screamed. Chairs fell. Flowers scattered. The perfect wedding turned into a storm of confusion and gossip. The man who walked in as a groom left as a broken hero, but one who had finally found the truth. When Oscar got home that evening, the silence was deafening. He closed the door slowly and fell face down on the bed, still wearing his wedding suit. He couldn't hold it in anymore. He cried, deeply, painfully, helplessly. Tears soaked his pillow as his chest shook with every sob. She had used him, lied to him, planned to destroy him, all while calling him babe. Outside, friends and family gathered at the door. They knocked, begged, pleaded. Oscar, please open up. Bro, talk to us. We're here for you. But Oscar didn't answer. He didn't move. He just lay there in silence, lost, broken, and alone. Days passed. He didn't eat. He didn't sleep. He ignored every call, every knock. Each time he closed his eyes, her voice echoed again in his mind. I'll marry him, then divorce him, and take half of everything he owns. Toby is the one I truly love. Oscar stared blankly at the ceiling, whispering the same words to himself over and over. Why me? What did I do to deserve this? Weeks passed. The sun rose and set, but inside Oscar's heart, it always felt like night. His family tried everything. Friends came with food. Collins even brought a counselor. But Oscar refused to talk to anyone. He stayed indoors, quiet, weak, and broken, his body tired, but his mind burning with one thought. How do I make her feel what I felt? How do I get revenge in a way she'll never forget? And will I ever find someone who loves me, not for my money or my name? He didn't have the answers yet. But one thing was sure. He wasn't going to stay broken forever. Something inside him had changed. When he finally rose again, he wouldn't be the same Oscar the world once knew. After the public shame and heartbreak, Oscar just wanted to disappear. He was tired of the stares, tired of the pity, tired of people whispering. That's the groom who got betrayed at the altar. He had become a walking story, a headline, a joke, a meme to strangers. So one quiet morning, he made a decision. He packed a small bag, a few shirts, a pair of jeans, and one old wristwatch. No luxury, no noise, no cameras. He didn't tell anyone, not even Collins. He left the city behind and moved far away, to a small developing town where nobody knew his name. There, he rented a tiny one-bedroom apartment on a dusty street. No air conditioner, no marble floors, no private driver, just peace and silence. The people were simple and kind. The air was fresh. He stopped wearing expensive suits and watches. He began to live like a normal man, humble, quiet, free. Every morning, he walked to the market or bought food from roadside sellers. Sometimes, he sat at a small cafe near the junction, just watching people laugh and talk. It wasn't easy, but it was better than drowning in pain. One cloudy afternoon, Oscar walked down the busy street to buy bread. He crossed a small muddy corner, and suddenly, a car sped past, throwing dirty brown water all over him. His shirt, his trousers, everything was soaked in mud. Oscar froze, shocked, dripping like someone who just came out of a gutter. The car screeched to a stop. A few seconds later, the door opened and a young woman jumped out. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, sir," she cried, rushing toward him. "I didn't see the puddle. I swear I didn't. Please forgive me." Oscar looked up slowly. Her voice was soft. Her eyes were full of worry. "It's fine," he said quietly, trying to wipe off the mud from his arm. But she didn't stop there. She ran back to her car, opened the back door, and pulled out a clean towel. Then she came back and gently started wiping the dirt off his shirt. Oscar tried to protest. "It's okay, miss. You can go. I'll manage." "Are you sure?" she asked again, still looking guilty. He nodded. "Yes. Don't worry about it." She smiled softly. "Thank you. You're very kind." And before Oscar could even ask her name, she was gone. He stood there in the middle of the street, wet and stunned. She was kind, he whispered to himself. Not many people would do that. He looked down at the towel still in his hand and sighed. I should have asked for her name. But it was too late. Days turned into weeks, but Oscar couldn't stop thinking about her, that stranger with the warm eyes and the gentle smile. He didn't even know her name, but somehow, she stayed on his mind. Then one Saturday afternoon, something unexpected happened. Oscar walked out of a small shopping mall, carrying a grocery bag. As he stepped outside, he froze. There she was, the same woman. She was standing by the parking lot, laughing with another lady. Her simple dress danced in the breeze. Her hair was tied in a bun. She looked even more beautiful in the sunlight. Oscar's heart skipped. He took a slow step forward. She turned, and their eyes met. "Oh, it's you," she said, smiling brightly. Oscar couldn't hide his surprise. "I didn't expect to see you again," he said, trying not to sound too excited. They both laughed softly. "This is my best friend, Olivia," she said, pointing beside her. "And I'm Sophia." "I'm Oscar," he said quickly. "It's nice to finally meet you properly, Oscar," she said warmly. They talked for a few minutes, light, friendly conversation. The connection was easy, natural, like they'd known each other for years. Before she left, Oscar gathered courage. "Can I have your number?" he asked shyly. Sophia smiled, handed him her phone, and said, "Of course." That was how it started. From that day, they talked almost every day, morning texts, evening calls, little jokes that made him smile again. For the first time since the wedding disaster, Oscar felt a spark of peace inside his heart. Sophia was different. She listened when he spoke. She cared. She never asked about his past and never judged him. She was gentle, funny, and real. But what Oscar didn't know was that life was not done testing him. The storm he thought was over was only beginning. One cool evening, after one of their long late-night calls, Oscar finally asked, "Sophia, would you be free to go out with me this weekend? I'd love to take you somewhere special." Sophia laughed softly. "Yes, I'd love to." Then her tone changed. "But, would it be okay if I bring someone along?" Oscar paused. "Someone? Who?" "My best friend, Olivia," she said gently. The one you met with me at the mall. Oscar hesitated for a moment, then smiled faintly. Oh, sure. That's fine. Are you sure? Sophia asked again. Yeah, Oscar replied, laughing lightly. It's no problem. But deep inside his chest, a quiet voice whispered, be careful. And he had no idea that this small decision, this simple yes, would lead to the most shocking twist of his life. The long-awaited day finally came. Oscar woke up early, feeling both nervous and excited. He hadn't been on a date since the wedding disaster. This was a big step for him. He took his time, wore a clean white shirt, brushed his hair neatly, and sprayed the last bit of perfume he had left. He didn't own much anymore, but he still wanted to look decent. He wanted to make a good impression. Outside sat his old, small car. The paint had faded, the radio was dead, and every time he turned the key, the engine made a strange coughing sound. But it still moved, and that was enough. He started the engine, took a deep breath, and drove slowly across town following the directions Sophia had sent him. When he got to her compound, he honked once and stepped out with a smile, holding a small box of chocolates he had bought the night before. Inside the house, Sophia peeped through the window. The moment she saw the car, her face changed. Wait, she said, frowning. Is that the car he brought? Her friend Olivia looked out too and sighed. Come on, Sophia, it's just an old car. What's wrong with it? I can't enter this thing. Sophia snapped. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing. Olivia frowned. Sophia, please. It's not about the car, it's about the person driving it. Sophia folded her arms. No, I'm not entering that. Olivia gave her a firm look. Don't do this. Let's just go. You never know what someone is going through. After a long, stubborn silence, Sophia rolled her eyes, picked up her small purse, and muttered, Fine. Let's just go. When they stepped outside, Oscar smiled warmly. Hi, ladies. You both look amazing. Thanks, Olivia said kindly. Sophia mumbled something under her breath without even looking at him. Oscar didn't notice. He was too focused on giving them a good day. He drove them to a small, quiet restaurant on the edge of town. It wasn't fancy, but it was neat, cozy, and peaceful. The kind of place where simple people came to eat and talk. They sat by the window. The waiter came over with a polite smile. Good afternoon. What would you like to order? Oscar smiled. Just rice and a bottle of water, please. Olivia nodded. Same for me. But Sophia leaned back in her chair, adjusting her hair proudly. I'll have rice, grilled chicken, grilled fish, salad on the side, and your most expensive wine. Olivia's eyes widened. She whispered, Sophia, that's too much. Sophia ignored her completely. And also dessert, she added with a smug smile. Oscar's smile froze. He looked at the waiter, then back at Sophia's list. His chest tightened a little, but he still nodded politely. All right, that's fine. When the food arrived, they ate quietly. Sophia ate happily, scrolling through her phone and barely saying a word. Olivia noticed that Oscar was eating slowly, carefully, like someone counting his bites. She could tell something wasn't right. After the meal, the waiter brought the bill. Oscar reached into his wallet, counting his cash. His heart dropped. It wasn't enough. He leaned toward Sophia and whispered softly, Please. I'm short. Can you help me with a little to complete the bill? Sophia turned sharply, her face twisting with disgust. You brought us here knowing you didn't have enough money, she said loudly. Heads turned. People at the next table started whispering. Stop it, Olivia hissed, pinching her under the table. You're embarrassing him. Oscar looked down in shame, wishing the ground would open and swallow him. Olivia quickly opened her bag, pulled out some folded cash, and tried to hand it discreetly to Sophia. Take it, she whispered. Just give it to him, please. Sophia folded her arms and looked away. No. Olivia sighed, then leaned forward. Oscar, she said softly, my friend said I should give you this. Oscar hesitated but took the money quietly. Thank you, he whispered, adding it to his own and paying the bill. No one said much after that. As they walked back to the car, Oscar forced a small smile. He opened the door for them like a gentleman, even though his heart was aching. He started the engine. The car coughed loudly before moving, but it still carried them home. On the road, as they slowed at a busy intersection, a white luxury car pulled up beside them and honked loudly. Beep, beep. Sophia turned her head. The driver, a tall man in sunglasses and a gold chain, smiled boldly. "Hey, pretty," he said. "Can I talk to you?" Sophia's lips curved into a bright smile. She didn't even look at Oscar. "Hold on," she told Olivia, opening the door. "Sophia, what are you doing?" Olivia whispered. But Sophia was already outside. She walked up to the stranger's car, laughing and flipping her hair as they talked. Oscar sat quietly in his seat, watching through the rearview mirror. He didn't say a word. He didn't even blink. After a few minutes, Sophia brought out her phone, right there in traffic, and exchanged numbers with the man. When she came back, she just muttered, "Thanks for the outing," and faced the window. Olivia said softly, "Thank you, Oscar. I really had a nice time." Oscar nodded quietly and drove them home in silence. When they reached the compound, Sophia jumped out without even saying goodbye. Olivia stayed behind for a moment. She turned to her friend and said softly, "What you did back there wasn't okay." Sophia rolled her eyes. "What? He's a grown man. If you can't afford a date, don't take people out." Olivia shook her head. "You embarrassed him. You humiliated him over food, and then you gave your number to another man right in front of him. That was cruel." Sophia shrugged. "Whatever. His broke. That's not my fault." The two friends argued all the way into the house. But that night, only one of them couldn't sleep. Olivia. She kept seeing Oscar's face, the quiet sadness in his eyes, the forced smile, the way he swallowed his pain. She could tell, behind that silence was a man who had already suffered enough, and someone had just pushed him past his limit. Months passed. Even after that awkward restaurant outing, Oscar and Sophia still talked from time to time. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was loneliness. But something inside Oscar refused to let go. They texted. They called. Sometimes they met. Oscar thought they were growing closer, step by step, little by little. Sophia didn't always treat him kindly. She snapped easily, ignored his messages for days, and often sounded bored when he spoke. But Oscar, blinded by hope, kept telling himself, maybe she just needs time. Maybe she'll see past my simple life and love me for who I am. He was wrong. One sunny afternoon, Oscar went to visit her at home. They sat on her small couch. Sophia sipped juice, eyes glued to her phone, scrolling endlessly. Oscar watched her quietly, nervous but sincere. His fingers trembled as he spoke. "Sophia," he said softly, "if I ask you to marry me one day, would you say yes?" Sophia froze. Then slowly, she looked up at him, and suddenly burst into loud laughter. "Marry you," she said, laughing even harder. "Like this? The way you are?" Oscar blinked, confused. He thought maybe she was joking. But she wasn't. "I don't even blame you," she said coldly, standing up. "I blame myself, for even talking to you, for allowing you into my house. You, a broke, poor thing like you." Her words cut through him like fire. Oscar's heart sank deep into his chest. He didn't move. He just sat there, staring blankly, feeling something inside him break again. Just then, the door opened. Olivia walked in from the next room. She had overheard everything. "What's going on here?" she asked, looking from Sophia to Oscar. Sophia folded her arms proudly. "Can you believe this poor man just asked me to marry him?" Olivia's eyes widened. "That's why you're shouting like this." She shook her head. "Sophia, what's so bad about that? What's wrong with marrying him?" Sophia sneered. "Then go and marry him yourself. If you like him so much, take him. I'm not stopping you." The room went silent. Oscar's eyes glistened with unshed tears. His face was blank, but his pain filled the air like smoke. Then, softly, Olivia said, "I would marry him." Sophia's mouth dropped. What? Olivia stood firm. Yes. If he truly has interest in me, I would. Sophia laughed mockingly. Does he even have a choice? She sneered. Enough. Olivia snapped, her voice rising. Sophia, stop this. She walked over and sat beside Oscar. Her tone softened immediately. Oscar, she said gently, please don't listen to her. I'm sorry you had to hear all that. Her words were cruel, but don't let them destroy your heart. Oscar looked up slowly. Do you really think someone could ever love me the way I am? Olivia smiled, a small, warm, honest smile. Yes, Oscar. Many women could. You're kind, humble, and genuine. That's worth more than all the gold in the world. Oscar stared at her for a long moment. Then he whispered, would you? Olivia's breath caught in her throat. Would I what? Would you build a life with me? A family? Olivia swallowed hard. She paused for a moment, then said softly, I would have said yes, if I knew you truly had interest in me. Oscar's eyes softened. I do, he said quickly. From the very first day we went out. I did. I just didn't want to come between you and your friend. Sophia rolled her eyes dramatically. Please. You both can go ahead. Date, marry, do whatever you want. I don't care. She gave a fake smile and turned toward the window, just as the sound of a car engine echoed outside. A sleek white luxury car pulled up in front of the house. The engine purred like a lion. The door opened, and Jeff stepped out, the same flashy man Sophia had met the day of the restaurant outing. He carried shopping bags filled with designer clothes, shiny perfumes, gold jewelry, and expensive shoes. Baby, I'm here, he called out confidently. Sophia's eyes lit up. Jeff, she screamed, rushing to the door. She hugged him tightly and started opening the bags right there, laughing like a child in a candy shop. Jeff looked past her and saw Oscar sitting quietly beside Olivia. What's going on here? He asked with a smirk. Sophia laughed, flipping her hair proudly. Can you believe this poor guy was just asking for my hand in marriage? Jeff burst into laughter. This one, he said, pointing at Oscar. This cheap thing? He doesn't even know his level. Look at him. So broke, so basic. Oscar lowered his head. His chest burned, but he stayed quiet. But Olivia had had enough. She stood up sharply and faced Jeff. I don't care how much money you have, she said firmly. You don't get to insult someone in my presence. Especially not him. Jeff frowned. And who are you supposed to be? Olivia stepped closer. Someone who values people by their heart, not their wallet. The room went dead silent. Sophia shifted awkwardly. For a brief moment, even she looked embarrassed. But pride wouldn't let her stay quiet. Let's go, Jeff, she said quickly, grabbing his arm. These people are not on our level. They stormed out together, laughing loudly as if nothing had happened. The house fell silent again. Oscar sat still, eyes lowered, pain written all over his face. Olivia sat beside him and gently touched his hand. You don't deserve this, she said softly. You deserve love, real love. Oscar turned slowly to her, his voice weak. And you're the first person who's made me feel seen. Olivia smiled faintly, eyes misty. And in that quiet, broken moment, something stronger than words passed between them. Something real. Something healing. From the day Sophia walked out with Jeff, something inside Oscar changed. He stopped looking back and started truly seeing Olivia. Her kindness, her patience, her quiet strength. She had stood by him when he had nothing. She defended him when he was mocked and humiliated. And through it all, she never once asked for anything in return. Over time, they grew close, very close. They laughed together, shared long talks that stretched into midnight. Olivia surprised him with small gifts, a new shirt, a simple wristwatch, snacks he loved. When he was short of money, she quietly loaned him some and never asked when he'd pay back. Even when his shoes were worn out and his old car coughed on the road, she still held his hand proudly. While others walked past him, Olivia stood by his side. Their love grew like a small fire on a cold night, slow, steady, and pure. But what Olivia didn't know was that Oscar had been hiding a very big secret. One evening, Oscar called her. His voice was calm, but carried something different. "Hey, Olivia," he said softly. "I want to take you out. Please dress nicely. I'll come pick you up." Olivia smiled through the phone. "Okay, but what's the occasion?" "You'll see," Oscar replied. She laughed lightly. "All right, Mr. Mysterious." The day finally came. Olivia wore her best dress, a soft peach gown, simple but elegant. She brushed her hair, added a touch of perfume, and waited patiently by her gate. The evening breeze carried the scent of dust and flowers. The sun was setting, painting the sky gold and pink. Then suddenly, the ground began to tremble slightly. Vroom, vroom. From down the street, a long convoy of shiny black SUVs and sleek luxury cars appeared, gliding forward slowly like royalty arriving at a palace. People from the neighborhood poured outside, whispering in shock. "Ah, who are they looking for? Is the governor coming here?" The cars stopped right in front of Olivia's compound, engines humming softly. From the first car, a tall man in a black suit stepped out, a bodyguard. He walked around and opened the back door carefully. And then, Oscar stepped out. He looked like a different man. Dark blue designer suit, polished shoes, gold wristwatch gleaming under the setting sun. His hair was cleanly trimmed, and his soft cologne filled the air. Olivia's mouth fell open. "Oscar," she whispered. What's going on?" Oscar smiled gently and walked toward her. "I'm not who you think I am," he said quietly. "I'm not poor, Olivia. I never was." She stared at him, speechless. "These are my cars," he continued softly. "My staff, my security. I only wanted to find someone who could love me, not for my money, not for my name, but for my heart." Olivia's eyes widened. Her heart raced. "You mean, all this time?" Oscar nodded slowly. "All this time." Before she could say another word, he reached out his hand. "Come with me," he said gently. Still in shock, Olivia nodded. Oscar opened the car door for her like a gentleman. She stepped inside, and he joined her. The door shut, and the convoy began to move, engines low, smooth, and powerful. Inside the car, Olivia finally found her voice. "You mean you're rich? You're not a houseboy or a helper?" Oscar chuckled softly. "No, Olivia. I own companies. I just chose to live simply, to protect my heart." "But why pretend?" she asked quietly. He looked out the window. "Because I had to be sure. I've been betrayed before. You remember Sophia? She only wanted money. But you..." He turned and looked at her. "You gave me your heart when I had nothing." Olivia blinked back tears. "Where are we going now?" Oscar smiled mysteriously. "You'll see." The cars pulled into a large hotel driveway, one of the most luxurious in the city. A tall, glass-walled building glowed with golden lights. As they stepped out, uniformed staff lined up at the entrance and bowed slightly. "Welcome, Mr. Oscar," they greeted. Olivia froze. "They know your name." Oscar smiled. "They should. I own this place." Her jaw dropped. She looked around in disbelief. He held her hand gently as they walked through the glittering lobby, where a pianist played soft music in the background. Crystal lights sparkled above them. Waiters in white gloves stood at attention. They moved down a gold-trimmed passage that opened into a private hall, filled with chandeliers, roses, and a glowing sign on the wall. The hall was quiet, beautiful, and decorated in white and gold. At the table sat a few carefully invited guests, and among them, Sophia and Jeff. Sophia's eyes widened the moment she saw them. "Wait, is that Oscar?" she whispered, gripping Jeff's arm. Jeff turned slowly. "What are they doing here? Who even invited that poor guy to a place like this?" she hissed. Jeff leaned back, watching carefully. Sophia folded her arms, her face twisted with jealousy. "And who gave him that kind of suit? It must be borrowed," she muttered. "This can't be real." Jeff chuckled under his breath but said nothing. Meanwhile, Oscar and Olivia kept walking hand in hand toward the front stage. Olivia was still confused. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Oscar, what is this? What's happening?" Oscar smiled, eyes glimmering. "You'll see," he said softly. Just then, Jeff stood up from his seat and began walking toward the stage. The crowd turned, murmuring in confusion. Sophia followed behind him quickly, her high heels tapping hard against the marble floor. When they reached the stage, Jeff gave Oscar a small, respectful bow. "Good evening, boss," he said politely. Olivia's head snapped toward him. "Boss?" Sophia blinked, confused. "Wait, what did you just say?" Jeff smiled calmly. "I said, good evening, boss." Sophia gave an awkward laugh. "Boss? You're calling him boss?" Jeff turned to her, eyes steady. "Yes, he's my boss." Sophia froze. I thought you were rich." Jeff shook his head. "I work for him. I'm one of his drivers." The hall went silent. Every guest turned in shock. Sophia's face drained of color. You mean you're not the owner of that white car?" she asked slowly, her voice trembling. Jeff replied plainly, "No. That's one of his cars. He owns many." Sophia staggered back slightly, staring at Jeff, then at Oscar, then at Olivia. Jeff continued, "He only asked me to act rich, to test you, to see who you really were." Sophia's hand flew to her mouth. Her voice cracked. You used me." Oscar finally looked her in the eye for the first time that evening. "I didn't use you," he said quietly. "I gave you a chance. I just wanted to see if you could love someone who had nothing. But you showed your heart." Tears filled Sophia's eyes. "So all this time, you were pretending to be poor?" Oscar nodded slowly. "Yes. I was tired of fake love. I wanted something real. Someone who would stand beside me not because of my money, but because of me." Sophia's lips trembled. She looked down, her voice small and broken. I made a mistake," she whispered. "If I knew, Oscar, if I knew, That's the point," Oscar interrupted softly. "You shouldn't have to know how much someone has before you treat them with kindness." Sophia's knees weakened. She slowly sat on the edge of the stage, her body shaking with regret. Olivia was still staring, speechless. She turned to Oscar, her eyes wide. "You planned all this?" Oscar nodded gently and took both her hands. "Yes," he said softly, "but not to hurt you. I did it to find someone true. And I found you." Olivia's eyes welled with tears, not from pain, but from pure emotion. "You really meant everything you said," she whispered. Oscar smiled warmly. "Olivia, you gave me your heart when I had nothing. You treated me like gold when I looked like dust." Sophia sat frozen, her hands trembling. She looked up at Oscar again, her voice shaky. "Oscar, I'm sorry," she whispered. "I messed up. But we can still fix this. We can go back to how things were." Oscar turned slowly toward her. His eyes were calm, his heart steady. "It's too late, Sophia," he said quietly. "I waited for you to see me for who I am, but you never did." Sophia's lips parted, but no words came out. Then, in front of everyone, Oscar turned back to Olivia, took a deep breath, and knelt down on one knee. Gasps filled the room. Phones flashed. People stood. Olivia covered her mouth, shaking in disbelief. Oscar pulled out a small black velvet box. Inside, a diamond ring sparkled under the golden lights. "Olivia," he said in a steady voice, "please marry me. Let's build a family together, one built on love, not lies." The hall went silent. Olivia's heart raced. Her hands trembled. She could barely breathe. Before she could answer, Sophia screamed from the side. "No, don't do this." Everyone turned. Sophia stepped forward, tears running down her face. "Olivia, please," she cried. "Remember, he came for me first. He was my boyfriend. Say no. Please don't do this to me." Olivia turned to her gently, sadness in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Sophia," she said softly. "But I'm already in love. He didn't choose me because you rejected him. He chose me because I loved him when he had nothing." Tears rolled down Sophia's cheeks. Olivia looked at Oscar again, her voice trembling but firm. "Yes," she whispered. "I'll marry you." The hall exploded with applause. Guests clapped and cheered. Some stood, some wiped tears. Oscar slid the ring onto her finger, stood, and pulled her into his arms. They kissed, softly, deeply, surrounded by cheers, love, and joy. But Sophia snapped. "No," she screamed. She grabbed a nearby table and yanked it down. Wine glasses crashed. Red wine splashed across the floor. She picked up a chair, but before she could throw it, 2 large security guards rushed in. "Let me go," she shouted, kicking and crying. "Please calm down," one of the guards said firmly. "Take her outside," the manager ordered. The guards held her tightly as she screamed and fought, dragging her out of the hall. The crowd was silent, shocked by what they had just seen. "Call the cleaners," someone whispered. "This place is a mess." Moments later, the door opened. A young woman walked in quietly, wearing a faded apron and holding a mop and bucket. Her face was tired, her hair tied back loosely. She bent down to clean the floor, and then suddenly froze. Her hand trembled. Her eyes widened. In a trembling voice, she whispered, "Oscar." The whole room turned. Oscar turned too, and froze. His chest tightened. His breath caught. It was Kendra, his ex-fiancée, the woman who had betrayed him, the woman who once planned to marry him and steal everything. But now, she looked nothing like the woman he once knew. Her skin was pale and dull, her eyes sunken and tired, her hands shaky, her body thin. She looked like someone who had lived through years of pain and regret. The mop slipped from her hands. The bucket wobbled and splashed water on the floor. She stared at him, tears filling her eyes, then turned and ran out of the hall, crying as she disappeared down the corridor. Olivia looked at Oscar, confused. Who was that? Oscar's voice was soft, calm. "She doesn't matter anymore." He turned to Olivia and smiled faintly. "All that matters now is you." Olivia smiled through her tears. Her heart was full. Oscar pulled her into his arms again, holding her tight as the crowd clapped once more. And in that quiet, golden moment, after all the betrayal, heartbreak, and pain, Oscar finally found peace. And that was how Oscar's story came full circle, from betrayal to heartbreak, from pain to true love. He learned the hard way that not everyone who smiles at you truly loves you, and not every person who stands by you is after what you have. Sometimes, God breaks your heart first, not to destroy you, but to remove the wrong people from your life and prepare you for the right one. Never judge people by what they have, judge them by how they treat you. And lastly, don't let betrayal turn your heart cold. The right person will love you for who you are, not for what you own. So do you think that Oscar was right to test people's love, or was it too harsh? And what lesson did you personally take away from this story? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what part touched you the most. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more emotional, suspense-filled stories. Your support helps us keep bringing powerful stories like this to life. Stay tuned, more unforgettable stories are coming soon.